Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Houston-based jazz singer Ermelinda Cuellar. Her new 2022 CD, What a Difference a Day Made, has been a very personal and heartbreaking connection to COVID. With venues closed, she wanted to create work for underemployed bandmates. They began recording in December of 2020. Her percussionist, Anibal Ambert, came to the recording session with what he thought was a cold after a negative COVID test. A few days later, he was retested and found he had COVID. His condition worsened rapidly, and 5 days later, he passed. She opened up about the very personal nature of this album, her life and music, the influences of her Peruvian parents, the future, and so much more. Enjoy.
Hey, thanks for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive into your newest release, What a Difference a Day Made. And, you know, it's coming out during a time where the world is hopefully coming out of this pandemic. Live shows will open up, a better chance to promote this live. What does this release mean at this particular moment for it to be coming out now?
That's a great question. It's like, I'm not sure if you know some of the background. We recorded it in the beginning of all this in December of 2020. Part of it was just to get my guys some work. And I've always wanted to do a Latin jazz CD or music project, and I gather the best people I thought that would be great for the project. The guys I normally work with, which is Anthony Caceres on bass and Greg Petito on guitar, and then I build around that. And I got Gilbert Cedeno on piano and Marlon Simon on drums, Andre Hayward on trombone, and also Anibal Ambert. But what happened during that process was that we recorded the first session, and then Anibal wasn't feeling well. And it was a time when not even the vaccine came out. It was just a very scary time. Anyway, he wasn't feeling well, and then he said, you know, I took a COVID test before. I know I'm negative, but I'm going to take another one. And then I checked up on him, and then a few days later, he said, everyone get checked. I have COVID. And then he passed away about 5 days later, which was a big shock for us. So to me, this particular piece, even after we finished recording it, because we did a second session and we finished some of the songs we didn't get a chance to cover, it was very difficult for me to hear the songs because I could hear him and all the things that happened. And it's just, for me, it was like, it's just so emotional to me because he has so many more years of music and such a great attitude, a bass player, a percussionist. So for me, for it coming out right now, it's almost like saying, you know, hey, this is what we could produce. We created something lovely, hopefully inspiring to people that things can't change. You know, even through a very traumatic time, a stressful time, especially for anybody in the arts, anybody in general, but mostly in the arts, not being able to express and to finally be able to get something out to hopefully enlighten people, make them feel better. For me, it's hopefully when they hear it, they feel like things can change. It doesn't have to be the same. It never is. Things can grow out of even the saddest things. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's the other part of this. You know, we all had time of loss and reflection. And I guess on the more reflective part of things, what did you learn about yourself over this time of the pandemic that is going to make you stronger as you get out and promote this album? Obviously, there's a lot of emotion that goes into it. But on a personal level, what have you ultimately kind of figured out about yourself that maybe you didn't know before that will help you as you get back out there?
The ability to go no matter what the obstacles are in front of you. Also, how to reach out. Like, I myself have an ability of just wanting to, you know, handle things myself. But in that particular situation, I figured to reach out and people can help as much as they can. And that's okay. And also that contact and that communication also, for me, goes into the bandstand when you're communicating with your members who are playing with you, to be aware of them, to be present with them. If anything else, be present in the moment with them, and to be able to be open and create and let it go, let it flow. In other words, instead of trying to control it, being able to open your ears and your mind and just let it be.
Let's go back to your beginnings and your background. Were you born in Peru or were you born here?
I was born here. My parents were born in Peru.
Okay. All right. So talk to me a little bit about your parents' influence, your background, and more specifically, where you were born and raised and how music became your passion.
Okay. My parents were born in Peru, and they came over here around 1960s. And then they had myself a little bit much later. And for me, what I heard is that most in the house, I would hear a lot of the Latin songs, the boleros, things like that, and also the music that they heard over there in Peru, you know, los guainitos, their type of cumbias and songs like that, which was a big influence. But they also, at that time, also worked for a very wealthy woman, and she always had parties in her mansion, and they would always let me in, and I would hear musicians. I would hear, like, string quartets, pianists, classical pianists, singers. They always had parties, and I was exposed to music in that way in the beginning. So to me, that was always so enchanting, just hearing them play live and just, you know, peeking over the piano and seeing what they're doing. And as a kid, it was just amazing. I wanted to do that, what they were doing. I didn't know what they were doing, but I liked it. How that started for me was like, I just auditioned something in high school for a choir. Someone heard me and said, you know, you really have a nice voice. You should audition for this. And I did, and that kind of got the ball rolling, so to speak. And I found a voice teacher who took me on, and she was into classical music, so I learned that. But it didn't matter. I just love music. So whatever she put in front of me, I wanted to learn it. And from there, I went to University of Houston, and I got a degree in vocal performance in classical. And I did that for a while, like around 10 years, performing in little small companies, doing outreach programs, things like that. And then ultimately, because I was introduced to musical theater at that time, I saw this advertisement somewhere on Facebook saying about a get-together called Jazz on the Move here in Houston, Texas. And so I went to check it out. I always was interested in different types of music, and I just wanted to learn more about jazz. And there I heard this trio, and with Bob Henson on the piano, who is well-known here in Houston, Texas. David Craig, a well-known bass player here also in Houston, Texas, and I forgot who the drummer was, but it was amazing. I heard them, and I wanted to figure out what they did because it was so different from what I was used to, and I loved the creativity and the spontaneity, and anyway, that's how it began. I just started working with them and learning from them, and it started like a big love affair of music and love affair of learning to communicate and create with other people, and that's how it began.
So what is the Houston scene like? You know, how, you're obviously pretty well known down there. How have they embraced you, and what is the scene like?
The scene well, we used to have a jazz club called Cezanne's, and right now it's closed. And part of it closed down. It opened a couple of days before the close down happened for COVID. And then it opened up briefly, but because it was, it's situated below a restaurant, and I'm not sure if it was something to do with that. People maybe coming in or not coming in, or maybe not enough people coming in for it to survive. So at the moment, that is the only jazz club that is closed down. I know they're trying to bring it back in the Woodlands, which is about an hour and a half away, in a place called The Glade that does have live music every now and then. But as far as an official jazz club, we don't have one. I think there are a few, but I'm not sure if they were as active as Cezanne's was. The scene is thriving. More places are opening up to have live music, not as much as it was before, but there are opportunities out there. Little by little, things are opening up.
So talk to me a little bit about what you like the best about your profession, being a professional musician. What do you look forward to the most?
Oh, I look forward to working with other people and seeing what they bring, what the energy is, and what's going to happen. That's what I like about it. And you never know what's going to be created. Sometimes I get hired as a side person, and I have these other two people I'm working with, 2 or 3, and we're calling out the tunes. And what I found a lot of excitement in is that I'm not sure what's going to be happening in the moment, but I have to be present with them and also listening intently to what they're doing to be able to respond to their dialogue. That's really what I like about it the most, just being able to create on the spot.
So you've had a lot of influences from Ella to Diana and all the way down the line, but as you really think about it, who's had the most influence on the way that you've developed your own voice?
I think Ella Fitzgerald from the beginning. I studied her a lot intently. And then later on, of course, we have Sarah Vaughan. And then who I really am drawn to now is Eddie Jefferson, Josina Horn, Nina Simone, Abby Lincoln. I'm really, really enjoying hearing them and how they phrase and how they interpret the lines and also with the text. I really, really enjoy them.
What vocalists have you seen live, jazz vocalists, that really, really blew you away, really inspired you?
Cyril Ami in New York. That was a few years ago. I saw her at the Blue Note. She was amazing. First of all, she had an amazing band, but the way she spaced out her whole set, and I liked the fact that she had her originals in there. She was very, very charming, and of course I loved her scatting and the way she connected with the text and how she interpreted the story. And the same thing with Cecile McClure-Savant, when she came here a couple of times in Houston with the Camera. And what I loved about her was the use of her full range, not only the mid-range, but the high and low, the beautiful encompassing sound of all that. I really, really enjoyed that, and that she wasn't afraid of using her total instrument in that way. To me, it was fantastic.
So if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and catch somebody live, who would you go see? Where would you go?
I think it would be Ella Fitzgerald. I would want to see her in her heyday, just hearing how she is, how she phrases, how she communicates with the musicians. I would love to see that. I mean, I would just be so happy.
When we do, actually, things are getting back to a little bit of what it used to be with live shows, but when we kind of do more return in earnest, what do you hope we all realize collectively, both the musician and the audience, about the power of live music that we've been away from for pretty much 2 years now?
It's healing. It's a healing. For me, it's a healing art. All the arts are healing, but to me, not only the vibrations of the music, but the communication, the contact, and to me, ultimately healing. Because for me, music has been such a blessing in my life. It really has. It has helped me through so many hard times. And I know that when you hear a certain song, it could spark these wonderful emotions and sentiments and feelings that I don't know. It could change your whole state of mind.
So why do you love jazz?
I love jazz because of the improv nature of it. I love the fact that the communication, that you can find your own voice, that you can get together with anyone and create it in the moment. I like the fact that you can work with so many different people too. It doesn't have to be the same people, different people, and also different places. The different places you go and meet. Like music is a universal language, so you never know who you're going to meet up with and start this wonderful dialogue just through music. And that's why I love jazz so much.
Everyone has a perception of you, an idea of who they think you are, your family, your friends, your fans, but ultimately you live your life. Who do you think you are?
I think I'm a vessel, and music is the way I express who I am. And hopefully through that expression, I can have people think that they are not alone, that there's someone here who can understand, who can empathize with them, who will make them feel something.
That's a great answer. Hey, thank you for opening up. Thank you for kind of giving us a window into the new album and your life and music. Good luck with everything as we move forward.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest singers in Houston, Peru, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Ermelinda for her time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.